This house had a dark secret that even made the detectives feel sick. Imagine the tranquil life in a quaint town where everyone is familiar and evening walks are a daily delight. But imagine passing by a house each evening not knowing that it conceals a chilling secret. What if a person known for their kindness and predictability disappears without leaving a trace, and their own home, a place of safety, becomes a cryptic scene of their vanishing? Gloria Gary was a solitary figure, her life enmeshed with the intricate plots of the books she cherished. A lover of mysteries and novels, it appeared that her world was bound to the realms of fiction she frequented. Yet, one fateful day, Gloria vanished. 9 days elapsed without a sign of her, prompting a thorough search by her family and local authorities. They scoured her home, every room, the attic, the basement, yet found no clue to her whereabouts. The question then arises, how does someone disappear from their own dwelling? This mystery deepens when shortly after Gloria's disappearance, a young man is discovered by the police. During interrogation, his innocent demeanor juxtaposed with tears, he confesses to having been inside Gloria's house. He insists her body is within those walls, yet mysteriously it remains unfound. Are you prepared to delve into this unnerving tale? This story will disrupt your sense of security and challenge the notion that safety is ever guaranteed. Darkness lurks in the most unexpected places, waiting to be unearthed. Meanwhile, in a desolate stretch of northern Utah, a red Honda garners the attention of sparse passersby on an otherwise deserted highway. One observant driver, sensing something amiss, refrains from approaching and instead promptly alerts the emergency services. The area, remote and lined with fields, seems abandoned. When the responding officer arrives, he approaches the vehicle, left abandoned on the highway's shoulder, with caution. His patrol car's lights flicker in the background as he nears the Honda. Suddenly, the car door swings open, revealing a young man clutching a gas can. Though he looks youthful, his identification reveals he is 22. He explains his predicament: out of gas and without funds, he had been waiting for a kind stranger to offer assistance. However, as the officer verifies the car's registration, he uncovers an alarming detail. The car is registered to Gloria Gary, the missing 40-year-old woman. This revelation heightened the officer's suspicions, leading him to detain Kyle Jepson for further questioning at the station. Jepson, oddly insistent, claimed he knew Gloria's whereabouts, declaring she was still in her house despite thorough searches by her family that turned up nothing. His assertion struck the officers as peculiar and evasive, suggesting he was concealing something crucial. The perplexing case of Gloria Gary's disappearance began to unfold several days earlier. Last seen on January 3rd, Gloria had left her job at Urban Daily, picked up dinner from a local pizzeria, and headed home. Alarmingly, she failed to appear for work the following day. Her colleagues initially dismissed her absence as an unusual oversleeping incident, but concern escalated as the day progressed without any sign of her. By the evening, when she missed a planned family dinner and remained unresponsive to calls, her disappearance began to cause serious worry. By January 5th, with Gloria absent from work again and unreachable, her family and co-workers were deeply troubled. Known for her punctuality and reliability, such uncharacteristic behavior alarmed everyone who knew her. Her family promptly contacted the police, and together they inspected her home, only to find no indication of her whereabouts. Neighbors knew Gloria as a reserved and polite individual, a dedicated aunt, and a family-oriented woman who valued routine. Despite her seemingly content and orderly life, no one could piece together the reasons behind her sudden disappearance. The mystery intensified when her car was discovered abandoned on a remote highway, far from her usual haunt. This new suspicion among the officers intensified as they mulled over Kyle's possible involvement in Gloria Gary's inexplicable disappearance. How could someone whose life was a testament to order and routine suddenly vanish without a trace? With each passing day, the idea that such a straightforward, predictable existence could conceal something so sinister seemed increasingly implausible. Gloria, known for her black hair, brown eyes, and preference for glasses with slender frames, was last seen wearing a long, dark sweater and pants. Her bright red Honda, which was hard to miss due to its vivid color, became a significant piece of the puzzle. Her family, determined and proactive, began an extensive campaign to find her. They utilized social media and local news channels, distributed flyers featuring her image, and even set up a dedicated tip line for those hesitant to contact law enforcement directly. In their relentless quest for answers, the family's efforts eventually bore fruit. On January 12th, in the small town of Pound, southern Utah, local officers on patrol noticed the unmistakable red Honda parked at a convenience store around noon. They verified the license plate, confirming it was indeed Gloria's missing vehicle. However, by the time they returned to conduct a thorough investigation, the car had disappeared, slipping through their grasp once more. Refusing to let this lead go cold, the officers turned to the store's security cameras for any clues. The footage was grainy but revealed a man driving the Honda. Notably, he had distinctive dark markings on his arm, which could have been a tattoo or a glove. This new suspect was a complete enigma, further complicating the case as Gloria's family confirmed they knew no one in Utah, deepening the mystery surrounding her disappearance. Quick to leverage the power of social media in their ongoing investigation, the police released images of the man and the distinctive marks on his arm across various platforms, issuing an urgent appeal for his identification. Their efforts were expedited by the vigilant eyes of the community. The following day, on January 13th, their persistence was rewarded. A vigilant passerby noticed the red Honda abandoned on a rural road and promptly alerted the authorities. This tip rekindled hope in the investigation, marking a pivotal turn in the search for the missing woman. A patrol was swiftly dispatched to investigate the reported sighting of the red Honda. Upon arrival, the officer observed that the car's windows were fogged up, indicating that someone had been inside for an extended period. The car's exterior displayed signs of hurried alteration, with parts of it spray-painted black, and the passenger window was broken and crudely taped. The officer verified the license plate with dispatch and cautiously approached the vehicle for a more detailed examination. As he neared, the door swung open and a young man stepped out, clutching a gas can and attempting to appear nonchalant. He claimed he had run out of gas and had been waiting for help. However, his hands, smeared with black paint, seemed suspicious to the officer. When questioned about the damaged window, the young man's explanation that he had shattered it in a fit of rage with a machete only deepened the officer's suspicions, prompting him to detain the man for further questioning. At the patrol car, the officer conducted a quick search of the young man, finding no weapons but enough cause to bring him into the... Kyle Jepson did not immediately flee after committing the crime. Instead, he disturbingly settled into a semblance of normalcy within the home where the atrocity occurred. He took a shower, watched television, and casually engaged with his friends on Snapchat, sending messages and photos, the contents of which he did not divulge, but which raised alarm among some recipients. After a few days living in this grim setting, he found $200 in cash and seized the opportunity to escape in Gloria Gary's bright red Honda, embarking on a fugitive journey across several states. Despite his subsequent confessions, Kyle's demeanor suggested a chilling detachment and a failure to fully comprehend the gravity of his actions. He was eventually apprehended and detained in Utah, awaiting extradition back to Iowa. However, a crucial piece of the puzzle remained unsolved. If Gloria was indeed dead, where was her body? Throughout the ordeal, Gloria's family had diligently searched her home multiple times to no avail. Following the commencement of the official investigation, detectives from Iowa also inspected the premises. Yet, lacking a search warrant, they were restricted to merely walking through the main areas of the house, unable to forcibly open or thoroughly search enclosed spaces like the attic, basement, or closet. When Kyle claimed that Gloria's body was still in the house, this assertion prompted a slew of questions from the police. Why had neither her family nor the officers discovered anything suspicious during their searches? If Kyle was telling the truth, how had the body remained concealed? Driven by these pressing questions, authorities swiftly secured a search warrant for a comprehensive examination of the house. As the search commenced, there was a collective dread among Gloria's loved ones. It had been 9 days since her disappearance, and hopes for finding her alive were diminishing. Kyle's shocking admission refocused and intensified the investigative effort. With the warrant in hand, detectives re-entered Gloria's home with the authority to conduct a thorough search. They meticulously combed through each room, the attic, and the basement. It was soon revealed that Gloria suffered from hoarding syndrome, which had filled her home with clutter, boxes, stacks of old magazines, and long unused items, complicating the search process. Navigating through the dense accumulation, the officers eventually made a grim discovery. Hidden skillfully among the chaotic assemblage was Gloria's body. The remains were quickly sent for autopsy, and forensic analysis confirmed the tragic truth. It was indeed Gloria Gary. Out of respect for her privacy, The police did not disclose the exact location of the find, only noting that the body was ingeniously concealed within the house's cluttered environment. The discovery of Gloria Gary's body hidden within the clutter of her own home left the community of Des Moines reeling with questions and disbelief. Known for its role as a major transportation and financial hub, Des Moines was typically regarded as a safe place to live. However, the year 2017 marked a disturbing shift as a wave of violence swept through the city. In just the first few days of the year, several homicides occurred, notably in previously considered safe neighborhoods like Merrill Hay, where Gloria resided. This series of violent incidents prompted residents to install security systems and live in fear, a reaction sparked initially by Kyle Jepsen's actions. Kyle's troubling history with the law was not new. Just 5 days before the tragic event that took Gloria's life, on December 29, 2016, he had broken into another home. The occupant, Lisi Taylor, returned from work to find Jepsen bizarrely dressed in her underwear and wig, consuming her food and wine in her kitchen. Despite the shock, Taylor confronted him and screamed for him to leave, which he did abruptly, leaving his belongings scattered as he fled. Taylor, recognizing him as her neighbor's son, wasted no time in reporting him to the police. Although Kyle did not steal anything significant from Taylor's home, the peculiarity and audacity of his actions were alarming. The police issued a warrant for his arrest, but by then, Kyle had already fled. The incident profoundly disturbed Taylor and her family, leading them to eventually move away from Des Moines, driven by fear of becoming targets once again. The subsequent revelation of Gloria Gary's murder confirmed Taylor's fears were not unfounded. Shortly after the break-in at Taylor's home, Kyle was implicated in a far more heinous crime. Once Gloria's body was found and the details emerged, Kyle faced charges of first-degree murder, alongside theft and burglary. His bail was set at an exorbitant $1 million, highlighting the severity of the charges. The impact of these events extended beyond the victims and permeated two families, leading to a multifaceted tragedy. On one side was the profound loss suffered by Gloria's family, mourning a woman who had led a quiet, modest life. On the other side was the overwhelming shock and despair experienced by Kyle's parents, who were confronted with the horrifying reality of the crimes committed by their son. This situation left both families grappling with the consequences of actions that echoed through their lives in the community of Des Moines. Imagine being parents who have watched their son grow from a child into a man, proud of every milestone he achieved and loving him unconditionally. Then, one day, the unimaginable news arrives. Your son has committed a murder. How does one cope with such a revelation? Where does one even begin to search for the signs missed or the precise moment when destructive thoughts began to cloud your son's mind? Kyle Jepsen, it appeared, had concealed his darker impulses for a long time. He was employed at a pub merely 10 minutes away from where Gloria Gary lived. His colleagues there remembered him as hardworking and amiable, traits that seemed to fade after he was dismissed from his job. According to his friends, Kyle became increasingly reclusive, gradually disappearing from social scenes and gatherings. During the frantic search for Gloria, her family distributed flyers with her image, hoping for any lead that might bring her home. They visited the pub where Kyle once worked, requesting that her flyer be displayed prominently. This ordinary act took on a chilling resonance when it was later revealed that the man responsible for her disappearance was none other than a former employee of that very pub. The shock was palpable among the pub staff and Gloria's family when they learned that Kyle, a seemingly ordinary former colleague, was the perpetrator. The realization that a familiar face was capable of such a heinous act stunned everyone who knew him. The legal proceedings that followed, concluding in September 2017, were a grim chapter that reverberated throughout Des Moines and its surroundings. Kyle Jepsen, then 22, accepted a plea deal to mitigate what could have been a harsher sentence. The courtroom saga was fraught with tension as Kyle's lawyers argued that the intimate nature of his actions against Gloria and another victim, Alicia Taylor, should be considered mitigating factors. However, the court remained steadfast. Gloria, remembered fondly by all who knew her, was represented in court by community members and friends as her elderly father found himself unable to attend, unwilling to face the man who had robbed him of his daughter. During the trial, Kyle attempted to justify his actions by claiming he was under the influence of overwhelming internal demons that wrested control from him. His emotional testimony, marked by tears, failed to sway the judge or the courtroom audience. A thorough psychiatric evaluation determined that Kyle was not suffering from any mental illness and was fully competent to stand trial. The sentence delivered was stern. Kyle was handed a 50-year term for the murder of Gloria Gary, with an additional 10-year sentence for the burglary at Alicia Taylor's home. These sentences were to be served consecutively, ensuring that Kyle would spend at least 35 years behind bars before he could be considered for parole, marking a definitive close to a case that left a deep and somber impact on the community. The court's decision brought a measure of closure to the community, but not without leaving some haunting questions unanswered. Chief among them was how Gloria Gary's body remained undetected in her own home for over 9 days, despite multiple searches by her family and the police. Authorities remained tight-lipped about the specifics, opting instead to respect the privacy of Gloria's grieving family. Nevertheless, some insights into the peculiar circumstances of Gloria's home emerged from interviews with her relatives. Gloria, who had a profound affection for literature, had accumulated an extensive collection of books, novels, and mystery thrillers. Her passion led to an overflow of books from shelves to windowsills and eventually to every conceivable space on the floor. Over time, her home transformed into a labyrinth of literary works, obscuring much of the living space. After her tragic death, Kyle Jepsen exploited this chaotic environment by concealing Gloria's body beneath a pile of books. The very objects of her affection inadvertently provided a veil, hiding her from view under stacks of paperbacks and hardcover. This ironic twist meant that even diligent searches by her family were futile. They simply didn't know where to look in the cluttered space. Gloria was remembered by those who knew her as a humble and kind-hearted individual whose only escape was the rich and expansive worlds found within her books. Her home, a personal sanctuary filled with stories and imagination, tragically became the setting for her untimely demise, a stark reminder that danger can lurk even in the most familiar and comforting environment. As we reflect on this tragic story, it prompts a broader contemplation about the extent of human control and the darkness that can drive one to dominate another. Could this tragedy have been averted? Gloria found solace in her books, a tranquility many of us seek in our own havens of peace. Yet, her story illustrates how easily a place of safety can transform into a trap. This case leaves us with a poignant lesson on the importance of being vigilant and maintaining awareness of our surroundings. It also underscores the value of cherishing those we love, reminding us of the unpredictable nature of life and the unforeseen circumstances that can abruptly end it. Let this story serve as a reminder to appreciate every moment and to stay alert, even in our safest spaces.